And I think I'm live, which is perfect. This is unplanned, so it's going to be quite interesting to see what is going to happen. Welcome to my channel. I'm Phil. I'm a product manager and I work now a lot with Claude Code. And so I wanted to do a video because my laptop broke. And so last week I had to change my laptop. I lost everything that is on my laptop. I have a community and I did them how to use Claude Code. But unfortunately, I didn't have a laptop like a fresh one, blank, that has nothing on it, where I could show, like, for example, how you can install Claude Code fully. Not just Claude Code, because I saw there is many videos on that, but also what you need to be able to work with Claude Code. So whether it's Git, GitHub, the other CLIs that you need, but also like showing you a little bit about the terminal, because it can be quite daunting if you have never seen that. Everything that you need and the tools that I use personally to code with Claude. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to show you directly what it looked like. And so we're going to be able to see that together. So one of first thing first, as I said, I have a community. I just want to show you quickly what is the community. It's called forgebuilders.com. And basically this is where I share all my knowledge that I gather on coding and also on my usage of Claude or agent or everything. I do 1 hour 30 every week. I have a live lab that is happening. And then every 2 weeks, I have also a Q&A session. So that's it, where everybody can come and check what is happening. So first thing first, because we're going to do that and we're going to be there for a while, we're going to go to Google and then we're going to go to YouTube, because we're going to share some music as we start going through that. We're going to go for some Pilates, which is perfectly fine.
Like your name and date of birth into this free refund.
So first thing first, I don't like to use the terminal, but I'm going to show you the terminal because I think it's really important, specifically in what we do. So this is why I just want to show you this. So the terminal can be quite daunting when you have never seen it. But basically, when you're on Mac, you just type terminal and you will see it. If you're on Windows, it's a little bit different. So on Windows, you have two things. On Windows, you have like for example, the PowerShell or the terminal in itself. So the terminal, for the people that remember, from some time ago, you couldn't do anything without the terminal. There is a few things that you should know about the terminal, because this is where you're going to do most of the stuff. And this is why it's so important. It's called a terminal because basically, like a little bit of history, in the 60s, 70s, computers were really big. And so you couldn't sit at a computer, and because the computer was basically the size of a refrigerator, so you sat in front of something that was a terminal, and this is why the name stayed, and so we still call it a terminal. Now with a terminal, if I give you a mental model, basically you can imagine that graphic interface, if this is what you use, and the terminal is for human typing and for AI agent, typing on your behalf. So when we look into it, there is certain commands that you should know about the terminal. And there is like 7 main commands that you should know that you will use. The first one is pwd. Pwd gives you basically the path that you're in, right? So it means print working directory, and it tells you where you're right now in your computer. So whether it's in the folder or whether it's in the home, it will give you the full path. This is really important to understand, because when you code and everything, you need to understand where you are, And so that's the first command that you should know. The second command that you should know, and I'm going to try to increase the size, which I think I can do. Give me a second. After pwd, you should know ls. ls, it's for list, okay? It's short for list. It lists what you have in the current folder. Also really interesting, right? Whether you're like me, at the resin, or if I go to documents, for example, and I have to allow that, but if I do ls and ls everything that is inside it, I will be able to see like every folder, everything that is inside this thing. So if I go, as you can see, I type a command, which is cd, cd, which means change directory. This is what it means, which means that I'm moving into another folder or I'm moving up. So if I type, for example, cd project, I will go to project, right? And if I list everything that is inside the project, you can see it here. If I want to go up, I do cd space ... This will tell to change directory to go one up. And if I type pwd, so print working directory, you will see that I'm in users, my name, and documents, right? So that's mainly the thing that you should know. There is now one last thing that you should know, and we're going to use that to create a directory. So I'm going to go back here at Veracin, and what I want to do is that I want to create a directory for my development. So everything that I do around development, I don't want to put it in document. There is a simple reason for that, is that I have my cloud that is linked to my laptop, and generally, like everything that you have inside your download, your documents, your desktop, potentially your pictures are linked automatically to your cloud. Things that you put outside and you have not put in your settings, generally the cool thing is that is not linked to your cloud. What does that do? Is that really simply is that it means that it doesn't sync with your cloud, so you never lose what you're doing, right? It can be quite troublesome, you know, because our cloud is something you don't control, and if automatically things are pushed, it can create a problem. Because if they are pushed automatically, what is gonna happen for you is that you will not be able to see, or you will not be able to control, basically to not take certain things from your you will not be able to forbid basically via iCloud to take, for example, your coding projects. And so if you're right now working with Claude on a coding project and it misses all the files, it will not be able to compile, it will not be able to read the right documents because it's missing the files from your laptop. So this is why I create always a dev environment that is outside that. So here, as you can see, I put myself at pwd, I put myself like kind of at the home, right? And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a folder that is called dev. And so to create a folder, you have to use a command that is called make directory, mkdir, right? And with this command, you're going to use it, and you're going to put, for me, I'm going to call it dev, right? So obviously, you know, you can see that dev exists. I can go inside dev, and you can see that dev is empty. Okay? So that's basically what you should know about the terminal. There is nothing much more that you should know. You can know also the command remove, which is rm, which is removing file, but this is something also you can control by the graphical interface. So it's not really something that you need. And so this is what you should know. You know, you should be able also to clean your screen. Like, for example, if there is too much stuff that are written, you just use the word clear, and it will clear everything that is inside your terminal, right? So that's what you should know about the comments. Now, one last thing that you need to know is that if you use the arrows on your keyboard, so up, you will be able to go back in history on all the comments that you have used. The second thing you should know is Control-C. Control-C allow you to stop a command or to stop something that's happening. So, for example, if you're running Claude Code, Claude Code runs a certain way. Right now, it's not installed, so I can't show you. But basically, if you're running Claude Code and you want to get out, you need to do 2 times Control-C, okay? So that's kind of a thing you should know, and I wanted to show you that at the beginning before we start working inside Claude Code, because it's something that you will need. It's something that Claude Code will ask you to do, and if you don't know those commands, it will be a bit weird that you are not able to use the terminal. For example, if you have to push to GitHub your code, you will need also to understand how the terminal works and all that. Now, even if I like the terminal, it's a bit dull to work with a terminal, so I find a tool that I prefer to use. And so for that, we're going to go back to our browser, and we're going to go to a website that is called warp, so warp.dev, and this is what I use. So warp is, we call it Open Agentic Development Environment, born from the terminal. I quite like it. It's a wrapper around the terminal. So it uses the same functionality as the terminal, but on top of it, it has an AI agent inside it. So it's quite cool. Second thing that is inside that, so it has an AI panel that is directly in there. Every comment and its output stay grouped together. So which means that you will see when I download it and I install it, you will see how it's working together. And the big thing is that whether you're on Mac or on Windows, it works. Very certain things that you have to know that if you're on Windows, I'm on Mac, it's a bit different. For example, on Windows, if you want to use all the same command and everything that I've been using, you need to install Ubuntu first. And for that, you will need to install WSL and its videos that I'm coming up with, so that you will be able also to follow along. Now, installing Warp, super simple. We go to download. We're about to install Warp. Should download automatically. So you can see already the way Warp works, right? On the left side, you have like, you know, one panel with agents and all that are running, and you can see what is happening on both sides, right? So this is quite interesting. So that's one particularity of Warp. So if I take Warp, I drag it to my application. Okay, and then I launch it here. Open it. And I can get started with Warp. So get started with Warp, I can build faster with agents, or I can just use the terminal. It really depends on where you want to work. For now, I'm just gonna use the agent. There is no AI feature inside that, but to be honest, I've been using for quite some time. I don't need the agent because for my own thinking, I'm using personally Claude desktop to be able to do that. So I don't need necessarily that right now. I'm using whether Claude Code or I'm using Claude directly. So this is why, you know, you can use just the terminal. Now you can choose the styling, whether you can use the type styling that is at the top. So which means that the tabs are sort of containers where you can put multiple terminal on side to each other. That's the first thing. So whether you can choose it in vertical or horizontal, I prefer horizontal. And on the tool panel, you can enable it, you can disable it. Obviously, it's things that you can do once you're in Warp. When you enable the tool panel, the cool thing is that you have a file explorer and everything, which is quite interesting if you want to go to the files, right? And so if you continue in that, you have also the code review. And the code review, you can enable it, disable it. It's a personal choice again. So now we're going to click next. Do we want the CLI agent toolbar? If you disable or enable, I enable it. You know, this is what you see at the bottom, because this allows you to see where you are. It's quite practical. Giving you an example, when you're working with GitHub, and I will explain that after. GitHub is so GitHub is different from Git. I will explain that later. But GitHub is a service online, it's a cloud service to manage your Git files. And so when you use it, when you use the CLI agent toolbar and you create a branch, so which means that you don't work on the main code, but you work on this, you make a replica of a code and you work on a branch, as its name indicates, you will be able to see, for example, which branch you're working on at the bottom. So this is quite useful because sometimes you think that you're on the main branch, you're not, or sometimes you think you have closed the branch, you have not closed the branch. So it's really useful to have that. So we're gonna click next, and then I'm gonna go like you choose the color. So I'm just like choosing an debris or phenomenon one. And we're inside Warp. That's as simple as that. Right, so here the shell is ready. Basically you can give it a name. So for example, I'm gonna give it a name, which is what I'm working on. So which is called Breakthrough. That's my personal project, right? So I'm here, we're gonna move that here so it's not gonna be on the way. So you see, like this is really simple. We're here, exactly the same command that we have been in the terminal. I can go to dev, you know, you can see everything inside it. Now the cool thing is that if I'm in Breakthrough and I wanna have a second panel, right? And I wanna go somewhere else. So for example, to cd ... and here I wanna go to cd documents, right? I can go to cd documents. Right, so here I'm in documents and here I'm in dev. The same way on both sides, you can use exactly the same command I show you, right? So this is where it's really interesting. And you're gonna see that when I'm working with Claude is even more interesting, because here I will have Claude that is working, and here I will have still the terminal that is accessible. So this is what is important. So now, if you're on a Mac, in the shell, it's super simple, right? When you type a command here on the terminal, it works, it figures out what you meant and run it, and this is why we call that the shell. The shell is a program that basically interprets your commands and runs them on the operating system underneath. So the shell in itself is kind of the name is the idea of the outer layer. So it's around the operating system. So when you type ls to list files, the shell takes that, figure out what it means, which means list files, and asks the operating system to do that. Okay? So this is what we want the shell. So now there is different shell. There is like bash shell, z shell, and fish shell, so fish. And all the shell have been from the original shell, which is sh, and for example the Bourne shell, which is one that is named after his creator Stephen Bourne, which came the name bash, which means like it's a short for born again shell, and it's because it's the name that it was given, and it's the developer. Generally like the name that come from there or the name that was given by the developers, right? So if you open something new and you do here echo $shell, right, which is a simple command, you will get bean and z shell. So /bean/z shell. And so this tells us that our shell is z shell. And so it lives in the bin folder, which is where Unix system traditionally put their core program. So on Mac, you know, it's out of the box. This is why it's super simple. And generally, this is why also a lot of people have used Mac as developers or Linux. Obviously, Linux is still one of the favorite of the developers. Now, if you're a Windows person, you will need WSL, as I said. And so it's a Windows subsystem for Linux, if I remember well what it means. And it's a version that I will do in another video that will be recorded. It will not be live like right now. This version also will be recorded and in multiple videos, but I just wanted to do live just because, you know, why not? So the first thing we gotta do, and before we install anything, is that we need a new program, okay? That's the thing, you know, most of the people show you things without explaining to you what it needs for it to work. So installing Claude Code is fine, installing Node is one thing, but then you will need other things than just Node. You will need other things than you know, just the normal version, like for example Git. You will need also like different CLIs and all that. So you will need different tools that you will need to install. Now, when we want to install something, we need a package manager, okay? And on Mac, that's Homebrew. So that's the kind of a bonus that I give you, where installing Homebrew also pulls Apple command line tool, and so which gives us Git and the compiler, so everything else depends on, okay? And you want Git, because Git is what allows you to do the versioning, but I will explain to you that later. So Homebrew, if we come back to it, is a package manager for Mac. A package manager, if you want, it finds, install, and updates, okay? And it also removes software with one command, okay? So you don't have to deal to find where the software is, okay? Homebrew does that for you. You have to imagine Homebrew like a little bit like the App Store, but for command line tool, okay? So you need to install Git. The only thing you have to type is brew install, so brew like a brew, like brewing something, install Git, right? You want to install a tool like PostgreSQL, you install PostgreSQL. You want to uninstall, that's really simple. You do brew, uninstall. Okay, you don't have to think about that. And this is where is the power of having something like Homebrew inside there. Now, the problem is that Mac doesn't ship with a package manager out of the box, okay? Which is, when you think about it, a little bit weird, but you know, it means that the only thing that we have to do is install it ourselves. And this is something you should have from the beginning. So Homebrew is de facto the choice, okay? Don't even think about anything. Every Mac developer uses it, so you don't have to think really about whether you should use it or not. It has been around since like 2010 or even earlier. It's completely free. You don't have to pay for it. I know a lot of people always asking me, okay, it's a new tool, but do we have to pay for it? No, you don't. And so this is where, you know, it's not even thinking. And it's, as I said, it's a play on word where it's like brewing software, but at home. Okay? So installing yourself instead of through the Apple Store, and each thing you install through Homebrew is called a formula. So it's like a recipe. Okay? So now, here is one thing. When we're gonna install Node and all that, we'll need you know, macOS chips without developer command line tool. So no Git, no compiler, none of the things any real dev work needs. Okay, so the thing is that Apple has them, so this is why I said it's a little bit weird that they don't give it. But most fresh Mac tutorials skip this and then break confusingly in the first install, and you're completely lost about what you should do. And obviously, I learned that also by myself, and this is why I had a problem, right? So I don't want you to go through that. This is why I'm showing you this. And the cool thing is that Homebrew knows this, and when you install Homebrew on a French Mac, it triggers Apple command line tool. Okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the browser. Where is it? My browser. And we're gonna go to another website, which is brew.sh. Okay, so this is where you have Homebrew, right? Okay, so Homebrew, let me just show you. Homebrew here. So the thing I want to do is that you want to install Homebrew. So what you need is this line of command: /bin/bash, right? Born again shell. You have a curl command that take basically what it does. So you copy this, right? And you go to your terminal that is here, and you copy paste. Okay, it's gonna ask you for your password. It needs sudo access. So sudo access is a super user do. This is what it means. Okay, this is what sudo means. Super user do. So you need your password from your admin. You're gonna see that when you type the password, obviously nothing shows, but it's still taken into account. So you have to be careful in that. Then you click on enter, and it's installing everything that is supposed to install. So you just have to wait in itself. You need to know that it needs, like, obviously admin permission. This is what he's asking you, all that. It's going to download what he needs. So for example, you see that he's downloading command line tool for Xcode 26.5, right? And so this is what happens if you have a fresh Mac. If you may not have a French Mac, when you're going to do it, it may not going to do exactly the same thing, but this is what you have to follow. Thing is that you're going to learn that the more you develop, the more you're going to need these tools, because sometimes you just need new tools because you see that someone else is using them, or because, I don't know, completely randomly. And so it's important that you have access to those tools, because that way you can say, okay, like, I didn't know that this existed, but because this existed, you know, it's quite interesting. So it's quite good that you have them.
Scroll solo in peace, or dish up family dinner. For the movers, the shakers, the new hobby makers, do life with full fiber broadband that's in your corner. Check hyperoptic.com for availability and terms.
It's quite good that you have them. So okay, it's gonna take us some time. Wow, it has been already 20 minutes. Interesting.
Tell me that you love
Okay, it's gonna take us some time.
I won't tell you that I love you. Too high to see the wrong way.
There's our warp.
Too far to know the right
Still installing here.
Oh, no. supposed to be. I'm nervous now cause she can't know. I'm desperately in need, cause up here's hard to reach. Fly down, fly down. We were staring down the valley. When she put her arm around
Here we go. Finally. Compressing objects.
so you look beyond the surface. The truth is, I'm freaking out about this whole man I'm supposed to be. I'm nervous now cause she can't know. I'm desperately in need, cause up here's hard to reach. Fly down, fly down.
Okay, so here it's super important to read what it says, right? You see at the end here, so it explains obviously everything that is installed and all that. So has enabled anonymous aggregate formula. It's fine, you know. You can donate also, but now the next step: run this command in your terminal to add Homebrew to your path. Okay, this is super important. Basically, it's telling your terminal where to find brew. So when you type brew, it tells, okay, if it types brew, this is where I need to go, because this is the path it told me. So path, if you want, it's a list of folder your shell checks when you type a command. Okay, if you type brew and path doesn't include where brew lives, the shell will say command not found. That's as simple as that. Okay, it doesn't know where to look for. We know that, you know, we say that computers are smart and everything, but very certain things that we need to have them. So even though brew is installed, path is the difference between installed and findable. Okay? And so this command we are about to run, add Homebrew to your path. Okay, so the commands are here. It's echo user z profile eval echo eval $opt homebrew bin brew shell environment z shell to user . Okay, so you just take this and you just type it, as simple as it is. Okay, so you just put that here, put the last one with spot eval, and you just type enter. So this is done. Okay, even if you didn't have any validation, it is done. And this is how we're gonna validate. We're gonna type brew space version. And when you type brew space dash version, you always find the version of something. Okay, the second thing you're gonna type is Xcode select -p, and you're gonna see that here I have Homebrew 5.1.14 and library developer command line tool. This confirms that both of them have worked. Okay? If you sometimes, you know, like if you want to trigger that separately, you could type, for example, Xcode select install, which will mean also that it will install the command line tool separately. Okay? So that's the thing you should know compared to that. So now, the next step for us, just give me a second. So the next step for us, because now that we have Homebrew, we need to install Node. And that's the next step for us before we can install Claude. So Node, if you want, is what is called a JavaScript runtime. So runtime for everybody is a piece of software that runs code, and JavaScript was originally only able to run inside web browser. And so someone, which I don't remember his name, sorry about this. Sorry. Someone that has, I don't remember his name, but basically pulled out JavaScript from the browser and made it run on computer. So which means that now it can run on regular computer, and he called it Node. Okay, and so now JavaScript can run on your machine, on servers, on tiny devices. It's possible that, you know, everything that we do, like most of the modern tools, run on Node, and even like what we are seeing right now, run on Node. Okay, and so Claude Code is built on Node, so this is why you need it. Now, bundled with Node is a tool called npm, and npm is a Node package manager. Okay, a package, as we said before, you know, with Brew, is a bundle of pre-written code that does one useful thing. So, for example, if you need to parse date, you have a package for that. If you need to format a JSON file, you know, JSON, there is a package for that. So the cool thing is that instead of writing everything from scratch, there is suddenly a developer that has done it before you. And so this is why it goes so fast, because someone has done it before you, as someone has created the package that you may need to use. And there is more than 2 million, like more than multi-million packages that exist in the world. So the question is only to find them. Now, it's mostly free, and you need only one command to install. And you're gonna use npm, like the command npm, quite a few times, you know, with me right now, but also like when you're gonna be able to code. For example, when you want to compile locally and test locally, you run npm run dev, which means that basically what it does is that it compiles your code, and it creates a server on your local machine, and you're capable to test your tool, your app on your browser directly, but certainly with an address that looks like localhost 2 points, 3030 or 8080, depending on what has been configured. Okay, and so this is what is cool. But here is the thing: we don't want to install Node directly. Okay, and there is a simple reason for that. We're going to use something that is called NVM, and NVM stands for Node Version Manager, and it's a piece of software that its only job is to install and manage multiple versions of Node. Okay, so you can have Node 18 and Node 20 and Node 24 all installed side by side. Now you're going to tell me why it's so important, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because like I'm working on multiple projects, and there is one project that was a web app, right? Really simple. And there is one project that I wanted to run on the desktop app, and it was for someone else. It's someone that asked me to run that project for them. And when I run that, I needed to change my version of Node. Okay, I don't remember which one I was. If I was on Node 20 or 18, I have absolutely no clue, but I need to run on the 24 for that. And so the cool thing is that by using version manager, instead of uninstalling and reinstalling Node, I just have to switch. And it takes me 2 seconds. Yeah? And so version manager exists in almost every language. Whether you're using Go, Python, you know, Ruby, like you have a version manager. So to install NVM, there is a command also for that. I'm gonna show you the command. No, it's not. Yes, it's almost that. Missing part of the command. So the command is curl -o https 2.row.github user-content.com/nvm-sh/nvm version and we're gonna install bash with it. Up. Corruption is unknown. Did I make a mistake on the? Sorry, type 0 instead of O. Always be careful with what to type, because otherwise, like, you're gonna have an issue. One important thing to remember is that this, once you have run it, you need, and it says here, right, close and reopen your terminal to start using NVM, or run the following to use it now. That's the two choices that you have. Okay. So, for example, if we wanna do it now, we're gonna use this here. From that moment, we should be able to use it. And we're gonna validate if we can. We type command -v -nvm. So you see the problem that we have here. Let's try to completely close warp. reopen it. Project.npm should work. This is the joy of doing things live. Let me check. I know what is my problem. It's command -v nvm. Sorry, there is no dash. So always be careful with the command that you type. Like sometimes it happens to me quite a lot. Is that I type a dash or I type, like you see, I type a 0 instead of an O, and so which means that it says command not found, but it's not because like there is a problem with the tool. It's because it's a problem with the user. So always be careful with that. Now, what is important is that once we have that is there, it means that we're good, we can move on, right? So now, now what we want to do is install the LTS. So LTS, Node LTS, is basically LTS stands for long-term support. So Node release like a few major versions regularly, but only the even number get the LTS badge. Okay, and so sometimes it takes like, they're supported for several years, so there is security patches and all that happened, and basically the unnumbered releases are current. Okay, so they have shiny new features, but might break things. This is what you should know. And so there is two things that we want to do. The first one is nvm install --LTS, and then after that we do nvm use --LTS. Okay, so this is gonna again install, do all the things that it needs, and that's it, it's installed. So now we need to validate that we have Node, and we're gonna do node space -- version, and then we're gonna do npm space -- version. As I said, the -- version is really useful because this is always something that you're gonna use. Okay, what you can see here is that we have a version 24.16 of Node that is installed, and the version 11.14 of npm. Yep. Now, next step in our role, because we don't want to build just Claude. We want to also manage versioning. We want to manage also the way most of the startup, most of the developer manage their code. Most of the people that are going to tell you, oh yeah, you just have to install Claude and that's it. But you're missing like 3/4 of the tools that we use. The power in what you do, and especially if you work with other people, is not necessarily in the tool that you use, but in the process that you follow. And so I need to explain something before I show you how to install Git, is that we talk a lot about Git and GitHub. And there is a confusing thing between the two. Git and GitHub are two different things. It has similar name, and they're mixed up quite a lot in discussions and all that, but it's not the same thing. Git is a tool. It runs on your computer, it tracks every change you make to your files. Every save becomes a version you can go back to. This is really useful in development, right? Because you change like quite regularly all your files. If you have Git is local, it lives on your machine. Each time you will change something, you will be able to see the change that you make, and you will be able to go back in time. Now, GitHub is a website, it's a service. It stores Git repositories. This is what it does online. So you can back up your Git repo that you have locally online. So which means that you have always a version online. You can back them up, you can share them, you can collaborate with other people. And so GitHub is the cloud, right? And Git is the tool. You can use Git without ever touching GitHub. You can have a GitHub account and never use Git, but everyone uses them together. Yeah, so Git tracks change locally, then push them to GitHub, and then it's for storage. So this is why it's there. So for example, even if I lost my computer, even if my computer broke and I lost everything that was inside that, I have everything inside GitHub. So which means that nothing that I have is lost. Okay? And so Git, as you may not want the history, but I'm going to tell you anyway, Git was created by Linus Torvald. And so it's the same guy who created Linux. He built it because the Linux community was outgrowing their existing version control tool. And the name Git is a British slang for an unpleasant person, which Linus chose as a joke. And so the name stuck, and it runs approximately 95% of the software now. So if we want to run Git first, we need to do brew install Git. Okay? So there, we're going to use Homebrew. You're going to see like everything brewing. You're going to see the small beers here, obviously with Homebrew. Once it is done, we validate by using Git version. You have the version that is there. Now, one thing that is super important, each time that you do a change, you want it to stamp it with your name. You want it to be tracked with your username. You want it to be tracked with your user email address. So what you can do is that you basically put the config in place, where you do git config global. So this is for every project that you have. Name, fill, git config global user.email fill@proderos.com, which is my email address. Once you have done that, you can take exactly the same command. You just do the git config without name, and you will see that it's set up to my name and my email address. This is how you validate it. Yeah? Now that we have Git that is installed, we need to have GitHub, because this is where we're going to put in the repository what we want. So if we go back to Zen and we go here and we type GitHub, you're going to see this is GitHub, right? Where you can see, you know, what it does and everything. And so if you sign in, I'm going to try to sign in with Google. This is where I have all my repository. All my repository are here. Yeah, so all of these are part of my projects. Now, if I go back to Warp, what is super important to understand is that when you use, and you may have heard those tools, is that you may have heard about what is called a CLI. A CLI is a command line interface. A CLI, there is a lot of tools right now, a lot of services that are putting out their CLIs. So when we say, for example, we want to use the GitHub CLI, what we mean is that there is a tool you control by typing a certain command in your terminal instead of clicking around on the GitHub website. CLI is kind of the opposite of a GUI. GUI is the graphical user interface. So here I can, for example, create a new repo by clicking on new. I will give it a name. I will create the repository. I will add a license. I will make it public. I will make it private. Whatever I decide, I can do that, right? If I'm here and I see, for example, I'm part of one of my projects, for example, Breakthrough, and I want to go see the branches, all the branches. As you can see here, I can create a branch. All of that can be done with a CLI. Here I could do it manually by clicking everywhere on the GUI, on the graphical user interface, but instead of that, I'm going to use the CLI. So once you have created your account, we want to install the CLI of GitHub. To install the CLI on GitHub, we're going to use again brew. So we're going to type brew install gh. Gh is the command for GitHub. Okay? So you type it well, not like me. And it's going to install GitHub. Again, we're going to check the version that is installed to see if it's well installed. It's well installed. You can see it here. Now, the second thing that you're going to do, because you just created an account, so if you have created an account, I had an account for me before, you're going to type gh auth login. You're gonna, it's basically the command to do like the login like we just did through the browser. So here I'm gonna say, where do you use GitHub? GitHub.com. You have two ways to two protocols that you can use: SSH, which is a crypto untreated key, but here we want to use HTTPS because it's simpler. We're going to do that. You're going to say authenticate with your GitHub credential. You say yes. You're going to log in with your new browser. You're going to use this. And here you're just going to click on enter. It's going to ask you to sign in as this person. You say continue. You're going to type the code. You continue. You can authorize GitHub. Congratulations, you're all set. We go back to Warp. GitHub is configured, and you can see that I'm logging with my username. When you choose username, remember that the username is public. Yeah? Now, if we want to validate what is our status, even if it's written there, you always type GitHub auth status. This is also really useful if you have multiple GitHub accounts. For example, a GitHub account with work, or a GitHub account that is personal. Now, we arrive at the last thing that we wanted to do, which is installing Claude Code. We have everything we need right now to be able to work with Claude Code. And it's this last install that we're gonna do. So, to be able to install Claude Code, there is multiple ways, right? You have to remember that this is what it's all about. It's an AI coding agent that lives in your terminal. This is what Claude Code is. And it's better to use it there because, as I said, you can have multiple Claude Code that runs in parallel. Yeah? So, to be able to install Claude Code, we're going to use the Node Package Manager because, as I said to you, this is what is used. So we're going to do npm space install .g. So why .g? Is when you install a package with npm, by default it goes into the current folder, only available inside that one project. This is what it's happening. When you do with a G like this, it installs the package machine-wide, so it's available everywhere you happen to be. Okay, so tools used every day like GitHub, you install globally, Claude Code you install globally. If tomorrow you do like something like you use Azure, potentially you install that only in one folder. Supabase, same, could be in one folder. It's really a choice, right? But if it's tool that you use globally, you wanna do it like with a managed G. Just give me a second. So now there is something also really important to understand. It's not because you install it globally that it means that you don't have like that it looks at all your projects right away, right? Each project is separated. So if you install the project somewhere in particular, for example, you decide like in dev to create like a directory that says, I don't know, like breakthrough, it's just for this project. Okay, this is what is super important. So we continue the installation. So we do -g and then we type @anthropic, and here we have to be careful that we are writing well. -AI and not dot. I made the mistake already in the past, and you do Claude Code. Okay, you install that, and since we are into it, we're gonna do also. I think we can install the agent like this. You can install the agent SDK. Okay, so this is installed, right? So now we can type Claude version. Up, and we see Claude Code. Yes? So this is where it's quite useful. Okay, so now Claude is installed. The thing that you have to do, we're gonna create like a project, small project. So we're gonna do mkd here, like for example, test project, just for the sake of it. And we're gonna be, so we're gonna see the test project exists. Oops. Test project exists. We see that there is nothing. We type Claude. It's gonna launch Claude. For the first time, it's gonna ask us how do we want to use it, you know? So we can say, for example, we want it in match with terminal, and we're gonna use it Claude account with subscription because I have a subscription. So we type inside it. He will want to ask us for an authorization, and then he's gonna ask us to connect. So build something great. If you're already connected, if you're not connected, he's gonna ask for that. Yes. So if we go back to Warp, now login successful, press enter to continue. You press enter, you say, yes, I trust this folder. If you want to quit Claude, Control C twice. You have taken yourself out of Claude. Okay? Now, we go back to Claude, and for example, we can tell him, create a to-do lists app with local storage. I want it to be gamified, and I want to be able to add, check, uncheck, and delete tasks. Really simple, right? So you do this, and you see from there what you understood. So I built a gamified to-do list app for you. Let me first check what it's in the project directory. You see that it's an empty project. As you're running through it, he will ask you different questions. Like, for example, you know, he will ask you, can I create this file or not? And this kind of thing. And so you need to validate what he does. There is a way to not validate it. If you click on Shift tab, you will see at the bottom, it says accept edit on, plan mode, or auto mode. If you're on auto mode, basically it will not ask you anything except where it's really important. So it's important that you decide which model you want to have. Let's say for the sake of it that we're gonna accept the edits on. So you see, like, this is where he asked me the approval, and you can see that he has created here a quest list. And so this quest list, I can add a new quest. So for example, quest 1, quest 2, and then I can validate them. And you can see that they go here and they go here, right? And it says, here it says something weird. It's interesting to see. What is that? I think this is the delete button. So you see, like, there is a problem in the delete. So we can ask it to we can ask it to modify it, for example, because obviously that doesn't work. So you do quest 2, quest 3, and we can say, for example, when a quest is completed, you know, that will be interesting that there is another part where it shows the quest completed. So for example, we can say here, add a section for the tasks completed. He's adding, like, in the code, you know, what is telling you. So as he does the modification, I'm pretty sure here we can refresh. And you can see that the completed is already there. Right? And if you come back, you will see that you can take it out. And what is interesting is because it says that it's persistent, right? So if we get rid of this and we create a new tab and we go back to it, It exists still. Because I said to it to create with local storage. So this is what it makes it interesting, right? So you can refresh as much as you want, it will stay. And here you have it. So I showed you in approximately an hour how to install everything, how to have every tool that is necessary for you to have Claude install and work. You have also GitHub install, you have Homebrew installed, you have Git that is installed, so which means that every modification that you do on file is followed. As I said, this is something that I shared with my community, my AI community, that is on the Forge. It's super important for me that, you know, when you follow tools like this, not necessarily what I do is that you follow rules that are used by everyone. You know, it's something that is real meaningful and not just you know, for the sake of it. So obviously it took in total I think 1 hour in what we have done, but you know, when you see you have really like every tool that you need to work from there. Now, how are you going to work from there? Whether you go from a project that already exists, whether you create a project, I recommend for you that if you want to really control a project at the beginning, it's interesting to use a tool like Replit or Base44 or Lovable, because it allows you to be a little bit on wheels until you're mastering really like the way you build products. And then there is nothing forbidding you to get out of Lovable and to take the code into GitHub, and then from GitHub you put it on your laptop and you continue modifying with Claude Code. Now, as I said, I have this community where I do the live sessions. So the live sessions are every week. There is a fortnightly every Tuesday. Tomorrow we have a Q&A, and there is a trial for this. I will give a link underneath. So thank you all for the one that watched it all along, and I'll see you soon for other live coding session like that.